Hey folks, welcome to week 11 of DMD 320 Application and Mobile Design. All right, so week 11, let's take a look at our module, see what we're doing this week. Okay, so a couple of things. The main goal this week is a little later on in the week, we are going to go over some best practices for wireframing. Now, the wireframing deliverable number 3, is due at the end of this week for the project we're working on right now. So, before we finish that up, we're just going to go over some best practices a little later in the week, just to make sure everybody is constructing their wireframes in a way that works best. So we'll talk about that a little later in the week. Meanwhile, for right now, you guys, we are finishing up our discussion on ADA compliance, which means the main thing you should be focusing on, if you haven't done it already, is over here under discussions. We have this discussion, the ADA accessible websites, mobile devices, and you. So make sure that you are working on this. It's a really big discussion, lots to go over. So make sure that you have spent some time on this because it is due at the end of this week. So you want to make sure it's done properly and that you've responded to at least 2 of your classmates. Now, related to that, of course, is this article, A Smashing Guide to Accessibility, which is also linked over in the discussion. But if you haven't gone through it yet, I just wanted to sort of show you that this is a really great pocket guide by Smashing Magazine. Smashing Magazine, of course, is an online web design blog, which, if you're not reading it on the regular basis, is a good idea. It has great articles about web design in general, but their accessibility guide is really great in that it breaks it down into small digestible bites. So it talks about equivalent experiences, just in one basic paragraph, explains what it is, and then gives you links to a couple of related articles about equivalent experiences. What are they? And these are short articles. They're not super long. They're only a few pages long. So it's a really great pocket guide. Then there's a section on accessible images, accessible SVGs, inclusive components, creating online environments that work well for older users. Remember, accessibility isn't just for people with impairments. It is also sometimes just due to age and how our inability to see or interact with things moves along as we get older. Web accessibility in context, talks and webinars, which video conferencing tools are most accessible, which is pretty timely these days because we're doing a lot of video conferencing. User experience optimizations for keyboard only and assistive technology users. There are some users who cannot use a mouse for a variety of physical reasons, and so they can only access via a keyboard. And so what would you do in terms of designing a space where it's the only way to be accessible? Now, my best recommendation here is I would jump to the end here first and check out these 2 I Use the Web for a Day articles. In both of these, this guy, Chris Ashton, basically puts himself into the shoes of people who have accessibility issues and uses the web for a day using only a screen reader, and the other one is he uses the web for a day using only a keyboard, and really sort of walks through some of the hurdles that have to be overcome for sort of proper usage given those limitations. So that's a great place to start, just to not only form some empathy, but also really sort of understand what your challenges are in designing for these areas, and then go back and check out these other linked articles as well. So again, we are wrapping this up this week, this whole discussion about ADA compliance and mobile design. It is a really big concern for designers and something that I want you guys to be really well versed in by the time you get out of this class. All right, we'll talk more about wireframes and best practicing a little later in the week, so we'll talk about that later on. In the meantime, hope you guys are doing well and have a good day.